Hi everybody, my name is Billy Sheehan. You're watching me right here on guitar.com. Visit my website if you like, www.billysheehan.com, SHEEHAN. I got a new record coming out in August on Favored Nations called Compression. I have to warn you, I sing on every song, but it's myself playing bass, playing guitar, programming most of the drums. Terry Bozzio was kind enough to come in and blaze through 2 tracks with me, and also Steve Vai on a guitar solo on a song, Amazing Steve Vai, and hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you around. Yeah, this is the Yamaha Attitude bass production model. It's got the serial number on it there. It was not a custom shop version. And my deal with Yamaha was, when they do my basses, that the ones in the stores are the ones that I play. I don't get like a fancy custom shop version, and the kid goes out, puts out his hard-earned money, gets some plywood version of it, you know. So that was very important. And Yamaha has a very high integrity company. They put out some great instruments. Very happy with this. It's modeled mostly off my old precision bass, but it's also had some improvements on it. The neck to body joint. On the old P bass, you could move the neck back and forth this way. No matter what I did, I had picks and blades and screws pounded in there to prevent that from happening. Because I do the neck bending, that thing that would always drive that neck, move the neck in the joint all the time. So we did a whole different joint where it bolts from the back, and also there's a tongue on the neck that goes underneath this pickup, which is bolted on underneath too, so it doesn't move at all. And it still bends quite a bit, almost like a whammy bar, but I've never broken one yet. So I push on it pretty hard too. And it's got a couple extra things. The little thing here is called a fat finger. It's a little weight, just a solid hunk of brass you can put on there with a thumb screw, made by Groove Tubes. That's a little more mass to the neck. I'm into big, heavy, thunderous basses because they just sustain forever, and there's a lot of light basses with little thin necks, and people are afraid because their hands are small that they need a thin neck. But if you actually step back and look, the thickness of your neck has nothing to do with your reach. I mean, the guy I mentioned earlier, Joe, who started me playing bass, plays 6-string bass, full width Yamaha TRB bass that I got him. Little guy was about 5'6", maybe 5'4", little small hands, all over the place, And I almost never have to do this move. Rarely do I have to do that in a song. So that your reach is, if it's more than 3 frets, you're ahead of the game, but you don't need much more than that. So a lot of people get afraid of a big fat neck. So on this bass, I had them do the fattest neck that they let me do on it, so they know they can still sell some of them. And then I put this on there as a little bit of an additional weight. Some of the early times in the studio, I'd clamp a vice grip onto the headstock, just for an extra mass. And it also had the D tuner on it, which is the drop down to a low D, which is super essential, especially the fact that it's not a 5-string or 6-string bass. Get the low notes easier. And I did one other fancy thing on this bass that I added on my own, which is the fancy lights, which are Sims in London. They do this on instruments. I came in, they had blue LEDs, and they had just come out, blue LEDs, so had just been developed over the last few years. And I said, I got to have that. So it also has a laser pointer on it, too, so when you see an attractive young lady in the crowd, you can kind of, shooting out from the end here, you can point her out and give her your regards.
Do I see some scalloping up on the neck up there?
Yeah. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets are scalloped. Also, these frets from here on are smaller frets than the other frets. Just a little bit more accuracy up on the high end, because the bigger the fret, the wider the spot is the string lands on. The smaller the fret, the smaller the spot, the more accurate it's going to be to the center. So I actually I did that on my old P bass, so I adapted it to this too, where the last few frets are smaller frets. And then when just to be able to get underneath that, to get that super, to get up there. So get up to a G. Get it up to a G pretty easy. It just helps to get under it a little bit. It's not a real essential thing. I had it done on my old P bass via Dremel Moto Tool in the hotel room. So Yamaha did it the proper way on these basses. and it also helps a little bit feel-wise because you'll know you're in that area when you start to feel those holes underneath you, because a lot of times I'm not looking. So, but it's again not an essential thing, and I didn't want to lose so much wood by scalloping out the whole neck. I thought it'd be kind of a cool thing to play on a little bit of a scallop feel. So we just did so originally I just did halfway across, and then just these last 5 frets, and then that's why we adapted this bullet-shaped fret marker to coincide with the scallop all the way up and down the neck. So that's my bass.
Is this your main bass?
This is number 2. The main bass is getting strings put on because we had a sweaty show, and the strings on that sound like this now because they're so.
Is it also a 4-string?
Yeah.
So with so many people have moved up to 5 and 6, and you've stuck mostly with 4 strings. And is there a reason for that?
I can get a B out of this easy. There's a B, drop down. There's a D, and there's a. So I can bend down to a B, no problem. And I also have a little octave device. If I need a more solid B, I can get it. So I can get the low note of a 5 or 6 string bass. And I'm just used to 4 strings. So on my compression record, I played a bass tuned B, E, A, D, which is the same as this bass. All strings moved over, one and a low B put on it. And I'm just used to 4 strings. I got a 6-string bass, and I used it on Just Take My Heart, Mr. Big Song. And I've used it on a few things, a couple of projects, a couple of albums, stuff like that. But I'm flying around on the neck, and it's, all the patterns and everything works the same way as it does on a 4-string, but I'm thinking, what key am I in? Because I know that's A, B. It sounds very simplified, but it's just a little bit confusing for me. And it would require me a little bit to apply a little more thought to it. And then when I'm playing and performing live, I don't really like to think at all. I like to really just kind of go off the top of my head and be in the moment, and like I said, with the audience and stuff like that. And if one more thing go, oh, wait a minute, I'll feel like I lose that thing there. So there may come a time when I play a 5 or 6 string regularly, but I'm used to the 4. I've never had a problem getting a note out that I would play Incantation from Steve's new record, and it's a low B. And I have an EBS octave pedal, which gives me a solid as a rock low B off of this B here, and it's overwhelming, the low notes. So there's ways to get around it. Mm-hmm. And if I would have started on 5 or 6 string, I probably would be playing that now. But I've started on 4, and 30-some years of getting used to this. I just gravitate towards the 4.